Andrea's joined us this morning in the studio, and local councillor Judith Blakeman joins us live from West London. Good morning to both of you. We'll start with you, Andrea, if we may, in the studio. Thank you for coming in. We could see your frustration there talking to Louisa, and when you were down on the estate. You've been there for many years now, and you work with Grenfell Tower, although you weren't actually living in the tower itself. When you talked about the issues you've had, the issues that you highlighted to Louisa, to the local council, what was the reaction they gave you? The local council? We deal directly with KCTMO. Anytime we do try to speak with the local council. Kensington, Chelsea Tenant Management Organisation. So they run the estate, they run the sort of the housing and all the issues that people might have. They manage and maintain all of the blocks in Kensington, all of the estates in Kensington and Chelsea. Okay. So when you spoke to them about the concerns that there were for Grenfell Tower, what were they saying to you? We were getting some conversations. It felt like lip service. We were not being taken seriously. Some people, a lot of vulnerable people, I think they were being taken advantage of because they may not have been able to communicate as clearly as others. When we forced KCTMO to speak, we would get some responses, but not taken seriously as we should have been. OK, well, let's put that to Judith Blakeman. You work as a councillor for West London, and I know that you know the situation very well. We're just hearing from Andrea here. She's saying when they put their concerns to KCTMO, they weren't taken seriously. They were just rebuffed. Am I playing through? Oh, yeah. So then I'm talking...
Yes, that's absolutely correct. And we had an emergency meeting of the Residents' Association last night. It was very quickly organised. There were well over 50 people there. There was a huge amount of anger about the very unresponsive nature of both the Tenant Management Organisation and the council. And tragically, what came out of the meeting last night was that perhaps this is a tragic but one-off opportunity actually to get residents' concerns listened to and heard and taken account of. Because up until now, the estate has been poorly maintained. I'm sorry to interrupt, Judith. Judith, sorry. Why has it taken an extraordinary tragedy like this to get these concerns listened to? That will just anger the people in the area even more. Hearing you, someone who works for the council, say that this morning, a one-off opportunity to get them heard. This should have been heard way before this fire became an issue. Of course they should. Yes, of course they should. But, I mean, when you say about the anger is because of this. And this has been going on for a very long time. I'm a member of the TMO board, and I take residents' concerns to that board, including Grenfell Tower. I've gone on and on about Grenfell Tower, and the board just sort of say, oh, well, it's Councillor Blakeman banging on about Grenfell Tower again, and then they move on to the next item. And it's just totally dismissive. I mean, people are seen here as being hysterical. And they're not. They're genuine. They have genuine concerns, and they're expressed greatly last night. So, Judith, you've been a councillor in that area since, I believe, 1978, and you are on the relevant board, and yet you weren't listened to. So who wasn't listening to you specifically? Because we're now at a point, I think, when people start wanting individuals to take responsibility for this. There are calls for this to be treated as criminal, maybe charges of manslaughter. You know, if people weren't listening to warnings of safety and so many people have lost their lives, someone has to stand up and say, well, I should have done, don't they? Well, what we're going to ask for is that when the public inquiry is set up, that the Residents' Association, the Grenfell Leaseholders Association, the Grenfell Action Group and the local councillors should all be able to give detailed evidence, and they should be supported by legal representatives at no cost to themselves. That's what Harriet Harman asked for last night at the meeting at the House of Commons, and that is absolutely what is needed. Do you personally feel guilty, Judith? Do you feel... I'm not saying you're responsible for guilty that you couldn't achieve more. No, I'm not taking back this charge. Well, I'm told that I'm ineffective because I haven't been able to achieve more. Yes, that's absolutely right, and I do feel guilty about that, but it's not for want of trying. I know that Nick Paget-Brown is a Tory leader of the council, Kensington Chelsea Council. Is there any reason you can foresee why Nick Paget-Brown wouldn't be at that meeting with the Residents' Association? Well, if what I heard is correct, and he's now started to blame the residents themselves for not having the sprinklers installed, then I'm absolutely appalled. I was at most of those consultation meetings. I don't recollect any discussion about sprinklers. Andrea doesn't recollect discussions about sprinklers. But is he seriously saying that the council decided to take advice from so-called consultation meetings on a safety matter so important as installing sprinklers? I think he should come to the meeting, but he should be prepared to meet a hell of a lot of anger.